Good evening and welcome to Kingdom Embassy Budapest. We are changing nations, changing lives, and thank you for joining us. Today we have Mark with us from all the way from Canada. We have Ning with us from Maryland. We have Alexander and Frida with us from Holland. And Pastor Marjorie is joining us from Rhode Island this time. And Anna is here from Abu Dhabi. And all the other ones are there that I cannot see because they're joining us online and Facebook and YouTube and all the other channels and platforms. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us. It's going to be a wonderful, very interesting topic. We are going to discuss the importance of communication. So we can see the picture now, Anna, whenever you're ready. Now that's an interesting and thought-provoking picture. Someone sent it to me, and I actually wanted to teach on something else, but I was just so captivated by this because it's so expressive. So I even posted it online on Facebook, and if you haven't read the captions, it's basically the woman cannot see, let's say it's a relationship, a marital relationship, but it can apply to friendships or any other relationships, maybe even colleagues, friends, family. And of course, it's the dynamic between male and female. And of course, many times the communication is not ideal between the two sexes, but we are going to change that. So basically, when you look at it, the woman is about to fall. So he's holding on to her hand, but he doesn't see that there's a snake there. So if she tries to climb harder or move or grab onto him with both hands, then the snake will bite her. He doesn't see that situation, and she doesn't see that the man has this huge rock on him, and he's pulling her as hard as he possibly can. But he cannot do more than what he is doing right now, because then of course he will be crushed by the stone. In fact, he cannot move. That's the position. So it's a very interesting life situation, because sometimes that's what it is. She doesn't see the obstacles that the male is facing. He doesn't see the obstacles that she is facing. And each of them are pretty much blaming each other on this picture. Why isn't she trying harder to climb up? Why isn't she trying to help me to pull her up? Meanwhile, she's thinking, why doesn't he try to pull me harder, just a little harder, and then, I can just climb over. But of course, I have the snake to deal with. The male has the stone to deal with, and because they don't communicate, they don't see the obstacle in each other's lives. So we can take it off now. It's not a very pretty picture, but I think it's a very strong picture. So I just kept thinking about it for about 2 days. Like, wow, I love pictures because they really speak 1,000 words. Mm-hmm. So it just really shows something that perhaps words cannot express as well. And I have prepared this. The importance of communication. Okay. So the word communication is derived from the Latin communicare. It means to share. Would you have known that it's about sharing? Sometimes people think that, I'm just going to give some information and then receive some information, but really it's more than that. It's not just, giving information to each other, but it's about sharing. The act of sharing ideas, emotions, and feelings between two or more people. That's what communication is. And of course, we're going to go down the list that communication is more than just verbal. It can be many, many, many different ways. And everybody has their own vocabulary, quote unquote vocabulary, because of course, your language of communication may be very different than that of others. And you need to find what works for both of you in order to have a good relationship. Now, we are not talking about marriage necessarily, but it can, of course, as does apply. I mean, communication is very important in a relationship of any kind, especially in a marriage. And when you, as long as you communicate, and even marriage counselors can tell you, as long as the two parties communicate, the marriage has a chance. The moment they stop communicating, but I would say in any kind of relationship is the same way. The moment people stop communicating with each other, it's that relationship is non-existent, because you don't share information, you don't share emotions, you don't share ideas, you don't discuss things, you are not really part of each other's lives. You are basically not living in a marriage or in a relationship, you're occupying the same cage. So that's not a good thing, right?
Right.
When you think about a relationship, and we can actually talk about marriage, but any kind of relationship. So when you think about a relationship of any kind, what would you say that the most important factor is in a relationship? You can unmute yourself and you can just guess.
Well, we're talking about communication. So obviously sharing.
You are smart. You are too smart. But you know, sometimes people say, you know, what's more important, what's most important in relationship? Most people would immediately say love or trust or honesty. And these are all, of course, factors that has to be the basis. But if you don't communicate love, you don't communicate trust, you don't communicate honestly, in other words, there's no communication, how do you know that the other person loves you? How do you know they trust you? How do you know they are honest? You see what I'm saying? So communication is extremely, extremely important. And this is how you communicate. I believe it's equally important to communicate dissatisfaction when you're unpleased with something, because you cannot just pretend that everything is all right, everything is perfect, because then that would not be honest and it would be counterproductive. How can the other person change? And again, don't just think within the confines of marriage. It can be a relationship of any kind, a friendship, best friends. The reason why they're best friends, because they share a lot of things with each other. They share their ideas, their anything. I mean, their information. Maybe I read a book, I share it with you. You have heard something, then you share it with me, and we grow together within that relationship. So don't just think marriage, but of course, marriage would be a wonderful example. Of course, it would be very funny for me to teach on marriage since I'm not married. Thank God. I'm just happy. That's all I can say. But kudos for everyone who's married, and obviously, if it works, as long as you have communication. So let's see. So all of those things are important, but if they are not communicated in any way, how would the other person know that that is love, that is trust, and that is honestly an appreciation of the other person? I mean, appreciation above all must be expressed, right? So what is communication in a relationship? The importance of communication in a relationship is often taken not very seriously or not regarded as important. It's not on the priority list, especially it seems like for men. They seem to keep things to themselves, but even in a relationship or a friendship or a family, the male parts of the family don't seem to be, for the most part, communication is not really on their priority list, as I'm trying to say.
But even guys
yeah. Go ahead.
Sorry, guys communicate differently because I'm sure Freda and the ladies here, like I would complain about something because I just wanted to talk about the solution, like brainstorm, talking about it, and then you join in, I join in, and we have a solution. My husband will not respond. He will solve the problem right away. Yeah. And I'm like, but I don't need a solution. I just need someone to listen.
Yes, there are many different ways people communicate, and there are many reasons people communicate. Some people just want to have an audience. Some people just want to be understood and want to be heard. Some people just want to, some people, this is their process to solve a problem, to talk about it. They don't expect you to solve it for them. They just want to, and as they talk, they realize what the solution is. But sometimes when you communicate something to a man, especially if you're a woman, the man thinks that he is immediately being put in a position that he has to solve that problem.
He has to solve the problem.
There's a misunderstanding.
Is that correct?
There's a misunderstanding. Let me continue and then we can open for discussion, okay? So communication is a vehicle through which all other important parts of the relationships are performed. So there are a lot of ways to communicate. It's just not just verbal. There are many ways, and we're gonna go down the list. Let me see what I missed here. So communication with family, friends, and colleagues, or anybody at all, affect those relationships on a day-to-day basis. So it's very important to put the communication itself on a higher priority list. If you love someone, but you don't use your words and your actions to communicate it, you are not doing right by your partner. It could be a family member, it could be your best friend, anybody, or your children. You know, they need to be able to understand what you mean, what you think, how you think about themselves. It's, I mean, every ways of life, even your pet. Your pet needs for you to communicate as well. Of course, they would understand on a different level, but nevertheless, the communication between the pet and the owner is just as important. Coming from the pet as a cat, I can tell it's true. Okay. If you trust someone, let them know. Relationships and communication should go hand in hand. You see what I'm saying? As long as there's communication within a relationship, that relationship is viable. The moment you stop communicating, or maybe just one party stops communicating, you need help. Because then how would the other person know what your problem is if you just stop? You know, you're going to give them the third degree. You're just going to go into a cone of silence, and then that's how you punish, or that's how you know what, even non-communication is a way of communication, and it's not good. You know, God never stops talking to you. He always talks to you, right?
Right.
If you can communicate honestly, your relationship has a good chance of being happy and healthy. The operative word to me is the healthy, because a healthy relationship is a happy relationship. When both parties understand what is expected of them, where are we in our relationships, what the plans are, where are we going together, where are we going separately, is that okay, is this not okay, how are we going to, you know, manage things together in order that we would grow together and not apart. In fact, communication sets the right foundation of every relationship. The problem is that some people just are not good at communication. So let's look at the principles of effective communication in a relationship. Love, trust, honesty are the reasons why you are with your friends and family and spouse and, you know, whoever is around you. You choose to associate with them to any degree because you love them, you trust them, and you generally feel good with them, right? But being able to communicate how much they mean to you is where the relationship goes from good to great. Communication in a relationship is more than just speaking. It translates into how you treat someone, as well as giving them time and attention. You see, taking away your attention or withdrawing your attention, that's also a way of communication. And it's not a good thing. Giving time to someone or paying attention when they speak, in that sense, silence is a good thing. But when both parties are silent because of, you know, they just have nothing to say anymore to each other, that's the end of any relationship. That's terrible. So there are different types of communication in a relationship. Communication can take place without a single word being spoken. Communication can be verbal, non-verbal, can be expressed with gifts, attention, acts, and so on. I mean, the list is up to you, because you should be creative enough to find ways to reach your partner or your family members or your friends. Or also, if you are in a leadership position, that's also very, very important. If you are in a business, you know, you are a CEO of a company, you are a pastor of a church, you absolutely must communicate with your members, not just speaking at them from the pulpit, but actually have a two-way communication, not a monologue. Because then this is where we can talk about a relationship, and the communication goes in two ways, not just one way. So here are 10 reasons communication in a relationship is important. You avoid and combat misunderstandings. How many times, if one person is silent and there's no communication, there's no feedback from that person's part, you have no clue whether the person is that's just their baseline of not communication. Maybe that's their background, maybe that's their culture, or maybe they do actually have a problem with you. See, but if you go there, address it and tell them and ask them, then you open up a two-way conversation. Because when you address somebody, you know, are you all right? Is everything okay? You don't seem to be yourself today. You know, you seem awfully quiet. That doesn't sound like you. That doesn't seem like you. Is there anything I can do for you to feel better? Then the person has to respond. But as long as, you know, sometimes what happens in a relationship, you know, it's like, but if he's not going to talk to me, I'm not going to talk to him either. But that's probably the worst thing you can do. Because you can actually live a life like this, no communication whatsoever, or no quality communication. And I want to stress the word quality, because you can talk about things, you know, small talks, which I obviously don't do, and I'm sure you guys don't do either. That doesn't lead anywhere. You can talk about other people. Now that's even worse, because that's called gossip, right? So really, you are communicating, but you don't communicate about quality things. You communicate about small things, weather, political situations, current affairs, state of affairs. I mean, all these things will not build it may build your intellect, but it will not build your communication, your relationship with each other. So also you want to watch what you communicate about, and of course, how you communicate them. I always encourage a healthy discussion. It's okay to disagree. It's even okay to agree to disagree. Not everybody has to agree on everything. I mean, I think it's probably the most boring thing of all when somebody always agrees with you. I used to have even longer hair than now. And I used to be going to my hairdresser. And for some reason, she thought that the best customer service is when she agrees with the customer on everything. And I was going nuts. Can you imagine? Because long hair and the process and everything else that she had to do, I had to spend at least anywhere between 3 to 4 hours in the chair trying to make a conversation with someone who agreed on everything I said. And if I said the opposite within the same sentence, and I did test her, then she would agree with that as well. I mean, it was just, I couldn't believe it. She was a sweet person, but honestly, she thought that this is the best way to communicate or to build a customer relationship, that the customer has to be right always. Well, maybe not in a conversation. It was impossible to have a conversation with her because she just agreed with everything I said. She didn't add anything to the conversation. She just said, yes, absolutely, exactly. And you can't do this for 3 hours. I mean, it's boring, it's frustrating, because you're actually looking for a feedback, and that was not a genuine feedback, obviously. She was just being agreeable, but too much. So I always encourage a healthy disagreement or a healthy, discussion. Your perception is different depending on your culture, where you came from, what your experience is, life experience. All these things are valid. And it's beautiful when you guys can agree to disagree, when you guys both can, or especially if it's a big group, everybody has their own perception of the same thing. We know about the elephants, people blindfolded, and everybody touches a different part of the elephant, and they describe what the elephant looks like according to them, and they are all right, but they are all seeing just a part with their sensory perceptions, with their hands at this time. So none of them are wrong, but none of them are right either. And the Bible does talk about that we always see things in part, and we do need each other, because none of us have the mind of Christ on its own. Imagine if Mark would know it all and he would just say, you know what, I know it all, I'm done with the people, I'm just going to go up in the mountain and just stay there and spend time with the Lord. We would not benefit of his, of his gifts, of his great mind,
That's right.
So we need each other, and that's why I like to open it up for discussion, because I want your feedback. I want to learn from you what you see differently, how you would add, and you always add a different perspective for the same subject. If I'm speaking or if someone else speaking the same way, it's always very healthy to discuss things. Yeah. And so that's something I always encourage, a healthy discussion rather than silence or always agreement, which is not genuine, ever. So when you communicate, you avoid and combat misunderstandings. You also garner respect, Because when you're able to express yourself, your likes, your dislikes, your ideas, your plans, how we are going to move together, the person will look up to you because you have something to bring to the table, so to speak. Third, communication builds trust. Silence and defensive walls do not lead trust. It actually leads to mistrust. Number 4, there's no need, when there is communication, there's no need to keep guessing. You will have a clear understanding of what the people think, what the other person think. If it's more than one person, of course, the communication is even more important and of paramount importance, in fact, because you need to hear their own perspectives of the same thing. Let's say I'm making plans to do something, but I need to understand where you're coming from, and I need to understand how you are going to fit in, and you need to understand how you are going to fit into the plan. Now, how are we going to do this if there's no communication? We had this great trip to Africa for 40 days, right? And you guys needed to communicate back and forth with the organizers, with the local hosts, with the airplane company, and with all the, I mean, everything. Just so many details you needed to communicate. How are you going to know all these details if you don't communicate? So the communication had to be on every side, from you need to gather information, and based on the information that you gather, you make a decision. You travel or you don't travel. You take this video or you don't take this video. You take the shots, you don't take the shots. So there's a lot of things that goes into a planning, but every planning has to be accompanied by a proper two-way communication. So, and of course, if there's no communication, that comes the guesswork. Let's say somebody just, in a relationship, in a friendship, somebody just feels like, you know what, I don't feel like I'm being appreciated. I don't feel like I'm being communicated to. I don't feel like the person is even, acknowledges me. And yet the other person is just very, very busy, or you see from your perspective that the person is non-comunicado. So the person is not communicating with you, doesn't respond to your messages, doesn't call you anymore. But maybe the person is extremely busy. I mean, maybe there's nothing wrong, but you need to ask. So instead of you sitting there and guessing, you might want to ask, so is everything all right? Is there anything I can help you with? Communication is taking the guesswork out of a relationship. Communication, number 5, is also a time saver. Instead of you stewing in your own, misunderstanding or misperception, you immediately go to the person and say, you know what, I want to do it this way. Why don't we do it this way? So that just saves time for everybody, right?
Yep.
Number 6, it helps you understand yourself. When the person gives you feedback on anything really regarding the relationship or regarding your career or anything that the other person perceives to be important and important enough for him or her to bring up in a relationship because they care about you, then getting a feedback, it always helps you to understand yourself. Number 7, communication enhances the relationship satisfaction. It enhances the relationship satisfaction. When there's communication, you guys are both calm, you guys are both happy. You feel like it's like a river, it goes somewhere. It's not like a lake that is stagnant. Number 8, communication helps us to grow together and not apart. We touched on that in the beginning. Friends, family, spouses either grow apart with time or grow together. And many times, when people divorce within a marriage, they divorce, it's because we just grew apart. How many times do you hear that? We grew apart.
Mm-hmm.
But I guarantee you that at some point, those people have stopped communicating. That's why they grew apart. Because I'm a great believer and a great friend of personal freedom. I think you should do your thing, I should do my thing, but there's got to be something where we do what we do together. Maybe you are involved with this sport, I'm involved with that sport, but there is something that we can do together that will bring us, that will move us in the same direction. Maybe it's swimming, maybe it's kayaking, maybe it's something else, A lot of people are in my family are alpinists. They like climbing walls. I did that before, but to me that's just, it's not challenging. Or I don't know. To me there's no fun in it. And other people, so but I bless them. They're wonderful, and if that's what they two of my family members actually, close family members. So whenever they have this discussion about how to climb a wall and how to hook the hook, I really don't care. I mean, I'm so bored. So I just go somewhere else and I talk with someone else, because I have nothing to, I mean, I've tried that. It didn't really, do anything to me. So I stuck with my own sport. But from time to time, I would bring them kayaking, and they like kayaking. That's not their main sport, but we do things together. And there are other things that a family can do together, but they don't have to necessarily have the same career. They don't have to live together, but the communication is nonstop. We always communicate. I have a lot of family members. I have a big family, like a larger family, but I also have a smaller family, like my siblings, my brothers and sisters, and my parents. And we constantly communicate, not just every day, all day long, pretty much. Somebody just, we have a whole group, and I'm so happy that we have Facebook and we can do that. Because with email, it was like a drag. I never liked email. You have to go there, you have to find the emails with all the other emails that I'm getting, and I'm sure other people have the same. But now you can have actually a thread, of course, within Messenger, for instance, and you can just have that little group or that bigger group that you want to communicate with, or you can create your own group. The point is that I believe it's heaven's invention. It may have been hijacked, and that's all I'm going to say about this at this point, but originally it was definitely heaven's idea, so people can actually communicate with each other. So I'm very, very much enjoying it, and we are using it in a very good way within the family. So there are some things that keeps us grow together and not apart. There are some like distant family members I don't even really keep in touch with, and really I would say, apart from the family ties, which is a given, none of us chose it, there is not much relationship there. But of course, a communication and a relationship is always a choice of both parties. So you can stop any moment and you can start any moment, the communication and the relationship consequently. Number 9, when you communicate with each other, you learn new things, and the learning never stops. And of course, as long as you are learning together, you are growing together. When you stop learning together, you learn your own things, he's learning his own thing, then basically you are learning and growing, but you're growing apart. Not a good thing. Again, you want to find some common grounds that you can still do together. And of course, number 10, communication definitely has health benefits. It reduces stress because you know what's going on. Imagine if you try to reach someone, you can't reach the person, you constantly text them, they won't respond, you would call and the person would not return your phone call. It adds stress to you, doesn't it? Whether it's a business relationship, a friendship, or your children, you want to know what's going on with them. So when there's this two-way communication and the communication is really viable and to the point, then of course you're calm, you understand that they are doing well, they're just busy, we're gonna get together, don't worry, it's gonna be fine. So basically, it reduces stress, and you just feel healthy because the communication is ongoing. Maybe not every day with everyone, obviously, that's impossible. You can't have a conversation with everyone every day. But there are some days that, I have all these people lining up, to talk with me on Zoom. So now I'm booked until like, I don't know how many, but those people I love very much, but I don't have the chance to meet with them face to face because they live somewhere else, like the other side of the world. We don't see each other too often. But I made sure that I scheduled them. Like somebody just asked me to, do you have time for me on Friday? And I said, you know what? I will make time for you. And that's my response. I will make time for you, because basically you have time for everything you want to have time for. So really, again, it's a matter of choice. Like with all communications, it's a matter of choice. So we could go on and on and on, but I want to open it up for discussion. Everybody, please unmute yourself. I'm going to say hi to Cole Sparrow. We haven't seen you in a while. Thank you for joining us. Christina McCasey, maybe. I don't think. How do you pronounce your name, dear?
Mackenzie.
Mackenzie, wonderful. Do you have a face with a name?
Yes.
Okay.
So.
We like to see each other here. It's a fellowship. Yeah, there you go. You are joining us from where?
Welcome.
From North Carolina.
North Carolina. Wonderful. And this is your first time here, is it?
Yeah, this is my first time. I actually
God,
saw this for
welcome.
the first time yesterday. Yeah.
Welcome. Okay, wonderful.
Welcome.
So yes, I don't know when you
Welcome.
joined exactly, but we are talking about the importance of communication. Oh, one more thing I forgot to add, because let's see. Communication is a godly idea. It's God's idea. Communication is a way of life. In contrast, non-communication is a way to death. The parties who don't communicate or stop communicating do not have a relationship. God wants to communicate with all of us, one-on-one, as well as corporately. And he is always talking. We are just not always tuned into his thoughts. So that's what I want to finish it with, that really communication is heaven's idea. And just basically we always have to follow what God does, and God always communicates. So should we, not with everyone all the time, but with the right people and about the right things and in the right way. And with that, I'm going to open it to everyone. Whoever has something to add or questions, comments, feel free.
Yes, I actually, as we are an international organization, or family, more than organization.
We are an organized family, but not mafia.
We are an
Not
international
mafia.
family, and we all have our so-called cultural backgrounds, and
Yes.
that is always sounding with the communication. So sometimes you don't understand why someone from Africa does things different than a European person.
Excellent point.
Yeah.
Excellent point.
And I don't think you can always lay a finger on it, because you the two people involved are not aware of these things. And for instance, when you are negotiating about a price, we in Europe don't do that very much. So when someone is saying, "Oh, you have to negotiate over the price," and la la la, and I don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
And you get into trouble, really.
Yeah.
Do you understand? Do you have experience in this whole thing?
And a culture. Also, Arabians have the same culture. Turkish people have the same culture. In fact, if you don't negotiate, they feel like you are not. You are being disrespectful. So yeah, because I've been to obviously both places many times, and they told me that you have to negotiate, otherwise you are being rude. This would have never occurred to me, because in Europe, if you try to negotiate, that's considered rude.
Yes.
So again, excellent point. Excellent point.
Yes.
Bring up the cultural differences. It's very exciting.
So how do we talk about that? I mean, if you don't understand what is going on, like you said, it's rude not to negotiate, and I think it's rude to negotiate.
Yes, I'm the same way here too. Here too.
I think, yes.
Yes.
So when I came from China to the United States, I
Yes.
went through this huge cultural clash for years and years, because like you said, things you cannot really touch. You can't put your fingers around it. But there's something so different. Like especially when I married my husband, right? He's a Jewish, and then I am constantly in this Jewish environment. And there was this lady, she actually was a Christian, but she married into a Jewish husband. So she feel like I'm her ally, right? She talks a lot about this religion, but Judaism is so complex. There's Orthodox, conservative.
different
There's a
world.
yeah, right. And she's telling me about how she did not like the Orthodox and and I'm like, I don't even understand the religion
Yeah.
to start with because I never grew up with religion. So
Yeah.
I literally was quiet. Every time she talks, I was
Mhm.
quiet in her house. Over time, so I think the first thing is like to tell people that you don't understand. But I feel very rude to say I don't understand. So I was quiet, just you didn't say yes, didn't say no because I didn't understand it. Over time, she decided I didn't like her. But I regret it now because I could have communicated better. Like Princess Reka said, communication is it's healthy to let people know where you stand, even though you don't understand, but you let them know you don't understand. If I did it better, maybe she wouldn't have decided I didn't like her, but it was nothing to do with her. It's more myself was
Yeah.
just overwhelmed by the culture that I did not understand. But it takes time to know the culture. It takes time. There's nothing you
It's
can
a very
do
good
around
point to
it.
bring out that especially marriage between people of different cultures, that can be an added, obstacle with communication. But
Yes.
I think communication there, especially verbal communication there, can be even more helpful there than in other,
Yeah.
when you are in the same country, marrying the same, type of people. But I think it's a very good point. Yes.
Yes, I didn't negotiate when I first came here. Like my culture is always bargain. If you don't bargain, you're stupid. So I always bargain.
So it's not even just rude, you're stupid. Okay, that's even worse.
Yeah.
But I was shut down many times, and I'm like, okay. But I do have a tendency to see the positive side of it, because now I said, okay, no, at least I know where you stand. At
Yeah.
least I know the beginning. I don't have to guess, so save me time. So I resort to that benefit. So I just accepted.
When you
Because I
chose
realized
to
the
communicate and you
big-
chose to ask
Yeah.
questions and you listen to the feedback, so that's
Yeah.
the way to do it. That's an excellent example. That's the way to do
Yeah.
it, because some people just don't communicate. Oh, well, I don't understand. Everybody seems to be stupid here. No one seems to understand. Oh, I just give up. And then they would just, close in. And you can't do that, especially when you travel because of your work or because of mission, let alone because of mission. You have to communicate in the language of the
Yeah.
people that you're going to. Otherwise, they will not receive you.
Yeah.
And you can't expect them to either. I mean, how would they know what you mean when you are behaving very differently from their culture? And it's up to you. For instance, if you go to a very different country than our own culture, I make sure that everybody is on the same page. I train my team, who are also international, by the way. So, right away you have all these,
Yes.
I'm not saying clashes, but differences of culture, differences of way of communication. So you can imagine how that is. But it's fun. And then together, international team, we are going to go to yet another country. Perhaps those people have never been to.
Yes.
Maybe the first time. So then not all of us between ourselves is different, the communication, but also together we still have to be in unity and express the same message to yet another culture.
Yes.
In a way that they can receive it. So yeah, it's fun. Challenging, definitely.
Yeah,
But
yes.
it's how you broaden your horizon, isn't it?
Yes, it does. But it
I guess you
is.
just communicate with love. Like, I don't understand you.
Yes,
I
but
don't
you
know why
see,
you're
even the
saying
language of love can be very different from one person to the next. Not
Yes.
just culturally, but also
That's
within
true.
the same race. So
Yeah.
maybe my language of love is different than my brothers and my sisters, and we grew up in the same family. Definitely of the same race, same culture, same background, same, pretty much the same education. So the problem is not there, is that you are individual. Maybe the way you understand love is gifts. Maybe the way you understand love is attention. Maybe the way you understand love is, I don't know, somebody is actually paying attention and listening to what you have to say. So there are a lot of, of course, everybody's coming from love and nobody's doubting intentions, but there are some things that you have to, you have to find out what the person's language of love is.
Yeah.
Then you have to find out about the cultural situation, because that can be different.
Mhm.
And a lot of aspects, but yeah, it's all
Yeah.
good.
And I think also communication in your marriage or family or in your own nation, but we have neighbor nation, Germany. We have seen in the last 10 years there are different cultures. Sometimes we thought we are doing the good way, and then the German had another idea, but to ask something to each other, come things clear, because
Yes, you have to
you
ask.
have to take questions to each other, and even in our Zoom family, is it very, very important to question sometimes. If you don't find out by yourself, you have to question, because I saw a picture from you, Princess Reka, in Facebook, and they go, oh, help, and think, oh no, it's that and that. So I have to question you know, so it's clear for me. So, but if it was not clear, then I was sure to be free to call you or to ask you, you know, and that's also communication, to feel free to ask each other how do you mean things, and even when we receive many lessons from Apostle Charles, our spiritual father, there's also another culture, and then we have also the culture of heaven. My kingdom is not from this world, it's from another place.
That's right.
And that's also a culture, it's also a place to communicate with each other. So we will find each other always if we see that other kingdom of the other place. There's the unity.
I'm glad you brought that up, because on earth as it is in heaven. So the reason why we communicate here, because they communicate up there.
Right.
So we are to mimic what they do and how they do. And of course, when you said, you know, the culture of honor, the culture of communication, that is all for us because heaven does that. And the language is always love, because the language of heaven is love.
Right.
So it's not by accident. Of course, the right way to go about it is always love. But there are some ways that people may misunderstand it.
So yeah.
That's where it comes in, that what you just mentioned, that you have to be able to feel free to ask the other person in the right way at the right time.
Right. And I love the picture I shared on Facebook, because that was a very good picture, because you never know what the other side person experience in life. Maybe they have tough times, but they didn't tell you because it's too private, or it's too heavy, or it's not a time to share it, you know. So sometimes we have to go our way, and we can't share it with people around us. Then you have to carry it. Yeah. But
I think it's always, and I'm glad you touched on that, because that's also part of the communication, to know who you communicate with.
Right.
I'm not going to speak about marriage because I'm obviously not qualified, but there are some things that you don't share with everybody, of course.
Right.
Because they're private, and plus because they cannot help you. You only share things with people who are qualified to help you. There's no point in sharing your struggles with people who are on the same level. And Apostle taught on that very beautifully, because they will not be able to help you. The only thing they can do for you is listen to you, and it's basically like a group therapy. They're listening to each other's misery, and maybe you will feel better because someone else is in a worse position than yourself. But then again, you are not being helped in your own. You can be encouraging each other, but if I really need help, I'm not going to turn to my peers. I'm going to turn to someone who's higher than me, because they are able to pull me up. Is it not? Is it not right? Same way, you know, people who turn to me for help, they obviously acknowledge that I'm higher in some aspect than they are, because I'm the one who's able to, you know, lift them up. So there's also a lot of communication that goes this way, but also there are some that only goes this way. So there's also that aspect.
Mhm.
Interesting.
Mark, any thoughts? You always have some thoughts.
I do. I have lots to say about this one, but
Good.
if I may just
Absolutely.
say, if Kos can just say something, just because he's been waiting so patiently.
Oh, I'm
and
sorry. I'm sorry.
His
Of
hand,
course.
his hand's been up for a while.
No,
I'm so sorry.
I'm not waiting. I'm listening.
Okay, I just
I
saw the
put-
hand
I-
up there. So.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It was a mistake. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, okay,
Oh,
okay, okay. Yeah, there you go. All right. Yes, I do have
Maybe if
lots
you
to
go
say.
like this, that would be better. So, and then, no, I'm serious. Maybe that would be better.
Yes, yes.
Mhm.
Okay, yeah, I do. So communication, that's something that I have, for the most part, I have watched from a young child, because when I was young, I stuttered a lot, and I
You
was
can never
embarrassed.
tell.
Yeah.
You're speaking
If I'm
perfect.
really tired, you can tell a little bit. But anyways, yeah. So because of that, I would watch people and listen and learn how people communicated. And that was pretty much the main thing that I had to do. So communication to me is very important. I have not done it perfectly, of course, but over time, as I overcame stuttering, I was able to communicate. So one of the things that Annette and I are going through right now with communication, and it's good, is I hadn't realized how little I was telling her and talking to her about. She says, "Well, you didn't tell me. You didn't tell me." So we've been working on and practicing me telling her. I was so used to just watching people, I didn't realize I was not communicating like I should have. So Annette has finally put her finger on it and said, we need to work on this. So, and I'm gladly doing it because I love her. But I was going to mention women, to the women. I heard Ning say there's people who like to fix things, and sometimes what they want to do, what people want to do is express something, and they don't want it to be fixed. They just simply want to be heard.
Yes.
But even
want-
in
yeah.
that, just let me just say this one thing. Even in that, what Annette and I have done is this, because she's very much like that too. Why are you trying to fix it? So I just want to be heard. But then what we've done is I said to her, well, then you need to tell me that. So I wrote down women qualify. It doesn't have to be women, but I'm just putting this down.
Sure.
Qualify what you need before you say what you want to say. So you sit down and you say, look, I'm going to tell you something. I don't want you to fix it. And Annette will say this. I don't want you to fix it. I just want you to listen.
I like that, because that takes
Right?
the pressure off of you
Right?
immediately. And you are
We're-
listening to with a very different ear, isn't it?
Yes. Yes. So it's important to communicate everything, especially if it's important. Like if you walk into a room and you know suddenly, like there's something on your heart that you want to share, and you know there's a person in the room, the moment you start talking, they're either going to interrupt you, they're going to come up with solutions to fix it, they're going to whatever. Over time, I've learned to be quite bold. If I walk into a room and I know there's someone in there who is more than likely going to interrupt and try to take over the conversation, I will look at them and say, I'm about to say something. Please don't interrupt. I'll let you know when you can talk. Why not? Why not?
You are so direct indeed.
Right? Oh, I am. I'm too much. So
But I
sometimes
think it's a good thing, because the
I
person
think so
understands that this
too.
has been a problem. So maybe
Right?
he didn't realize it, right?
Right? And maybe they didn't recognize it. And
Yeah.
usually when you do that, if you do it in a kind and genuine way, usually everyone in the room will laugh and look at them and go, right? And so then they, but I mean, then it,
I just
then
imagine
it,
the situation.
but then what it does is it builds the relationship even deeper, because we weren't judging them and criticizing them in a way that ostracized them. Instead, it was just a recognizing, okay, I know you're probably going to do this. I'm asking you not to. And just, you know, so
And it
I
sets
think
the
that's
premise
important.
immediately.
Actually,
Yeah.
so what
Yeah.
what I decided to do is just, if he fix it, I accept it and I thank him for it, because you know sometimes it's just that's their communication style, right? You need to learn to appreciate it. So that's my decision. But if I do have a chance to say I don't want a solution, because sometimes the solution was so much faster than this communication, I just decided to sit back to accept that solution, even though I wanted to do that myself. I'm just gonna accept it. I think because you respect is even the animal, like Princess Reka mentioned. I noticed that even the cats come to you, they have their language as well.
Yeah.
So you cannot be overbearing. You just have to observe. Like if someone is quiet or someone is unhappy, you have to go beyond that. Like, why are they like that? Is that cultural? Is that because that's their communication style? You know, don't impose your communication on them when you can, right? When you possibly can, do the best you can.
Well, when you
but
are
yeah,
I think it depends on the relationship. When you are in a leadership position, you cannot adjust to everyone's communication. They have to take on your communication
That's
style
right.
because you're the leader. So you set the atmosphere with that. But I think when you like
yeah.
a personal relationship, that's a different story.
Even personal, yeah. No, but you know, sometimes I feel like men make a lot of compromise. I feel like no, let's just the women make compromise as well. You learn
But I'm glad,
their
I'm glad you
communication.
mentioned. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned, Mark, that you set the basically the premise of the whole conversation or you know information flow, because and I think it's very helpful because also the other person will understand that okay, we realize that this has been a challenge for you, but like you know you start talking like, but I'm going to share something and you will feel the urge to cut in and resist it.
Resist it. Yeah, see, that's even the way you just said that is even better. In that it's so clear, and the way you said it too. See what I mean? How we all laughed, kind of, right? Because we didn't ostracize and cut the person off.
Yeah.
You're still including them. It's just that right now in this moment, that's not something that we need.
Or you can just say like in general, like some of you might feel the urge to cut in, resist it. In that case, you didn't point at that. You might, some of you might.
Now, and at my work, I work in construction, and we can be pretty rough, right? We're outside, we're in the elements, we got to deal with people all the time. Because we deal directly with cars and that, there's been lots of people that have almost been hit. I had about a month ago, somebody actually swerved at me, right? And it's just that's the kind of atmosphere that you have. So you just learn to kind of, sometimes it gets a little tense in that. So you know, anyway. So one of the things that we'll do is I can be very short, but I mean well, and everybody knows that. So sometimes we're talking about something, and somebody's whatever doing something, and I'll just say less talking, more listening, and they'll just but really they understand, and we just start to laugh.
There's no place for misunderstanding for sure.
No. So, but I mean, people, and I know sometimes I've been a little bit rough, and people have kind of misunderstood what I'm saying, but in the end, it's funny how they start saying it too after, because it is so clear and precise and concise.
The point.
Right? And one of the things too that you had mentioned was love and trust and honesty. And I had written just before that, be clear, honest, truthful, and transparent, right? And you are putting yourself at risk when you communicate, in the sense that sometimes when we have a conversation with someone, they might be hostile and we didn't know it at the time. Suddenly they turn on us. Well, okay, at that point, they no longer have access to us. And I won't just shut them off. I'll just say, listen, that was inappropriate. I didn't like that. and if that's the way you're going to address me, I guess our conversation is over. And that's kind of again, just being clear and transparent and precise about what you're saying, right? And and I've not often, thankfully, but I've had people say that to me too. I was just worked up and in the moment, and they had to stop me, right? So yeah,
but they give you a feedback, I understand,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But that's a good thing, because that's how you
Yeah.
can learn, and that's how you can
That's
change
right.
things. If
That's right.
like in a dictatorship, whatever the dictator says, oh, it's good, wonderful.
Yeah.
I don't know if they are well-meaning dictators, probably not. But if
No.
it's going on for generations, the person has no clue about nothing, because all he ever heard is yes.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
That's right. That's right. That's
So
right.
there's no real feedback.
That's right.
There's no room for the person to grow, whether the person even wants to grow or not, it really doesn't matter. How can you grow without a feedback? How can you grow without a correction? So people who have, for instance, I read a book a long time ago about certain stars. I don't know who that was, like could have been like, maybe not Michael Jackson, but anybody, I mean, somebody out there that everybody knows. And this biographer said, I love biographies. So it's not just about stars, but about, people who discovered something, or, expeditions and things like that. I absolutely love biographies, whether I watch them on movie or I read them. There's a lot of things that you can glean from it. And the thing is that it's, true stories. So there's obviously you can understand how they rose to wherever they were, how they fell, how they rose again. So there's a lot of things you can learn from it. So anyway, and I remember this one sentence, even though I must have read like 20 something years ago, that the problem was with this person, and he became very, very famous. I can't remember who that was. That he became so famous that nobody dared to tell him no. Nobody dared to give him a real feedback, whether his art was okay or good enough. It was always wonderful. So there was no real feedback. So basically the person was stuck, even without knowing that he was stuck, because there was nobody who was honest with him. So you mentioned honesty, so important. So important. And being polite is a good thing, but sometimes, I don't think God is polite. He addresses you, but of course he does it in love. So you are able to take it. Speaking the truth in love, or with love, that's what brings about changes, because you know that he's obviously well-meaning. He loves you no matter what. But if you want to be bigger, better, faster, more, then you want to change that very thing that he addresses. So you are able to take it. But I think it goes also for relationships. I'm not saying everything has to be addressed, and I'm not saying this kind of, I'm addressing everything that I see in your life, you're addressing everything that you see in my life. You do have to use wisdom. And of course, timing is extremely important. And, maybe not everybody is open to it. But sometimes it's a good thing to, to address certain things that you see, for instance, in your best friend. I think best friends are, equal relationship. To some extent, I believe marriage is an equal relationship too. So you should be able to feel freedom to talk to each other without any kind of hang-ups on who is in charge, and who is the head, and who is the neck, and all these things. But I'm just saying, if we take like a relationship kind of thing, like an equal, like a peer relationship, then it's easier, because the person corrects you, next time you correct him or her, and vice versa, and you guys grow together. But if you find someone who is a yes man, you will never grow. So you have to catch that, and you have to say, you know what, you need to be honest. You need to be honest with me. Like, I'm going to do a show here. Maybe I'm an artist. You need to let me know whether it's good enough, or maybe I can change something. Maybe I can grow. I can, polish my art, because of course every true artist wants to be better. But if you never get a real feedback because of your status, you got to that status where nobody is daring to speak into your life. I mean, that's the end of it.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah. Another point I wanted to make about, you had mentioned about how you were in the the chair at the hairdressers for quite some time, and they were so agreeable. I rather like those people because what I will do is I will then say something way off the way off a normal conversation. So I might say something like, "So if I brought yellow shoes in here, would you wear them?" And they might say,
Sure, I like yellow
maybe,
shoes.
maybe not.
What about
Yeah,
black?
and
Yeah,
and then
that's-
and then what if I got 6-inch, 8-inch, or 10-inch high heeled shoes, and just off the wall things? And it's
Yeah.
like, well, why are you asking me that? Well, you obviously have opinions, and I'm trying to start a conversation, and you're way too agreeable. And
Oh,
so that really kind of breaks down the barriers. I have had some of the best conversations with those people because they're so agreeable all the time. They had a lot to say, but never really knew
okay.
who to say it to. And they start unloading, and because these people are people watchers, and I found them to be quite interesting. They had a lot of stories in the end. So if you can really break down that barrier, you'll find you can have some very good conversations. And
Yeah, very good point.
sometimes they're trying to protect something. That's why they don't. There's things that they're dancing around. That's why they're so agreeable.
Yeah.
And if we can get in there, we can maybe help them. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure you're right.
Quite enjoy that. So yeah.
We have, I'm not sure if I pronounced your name well, Yaster Hermes.
Yeah, Hester Hermes. She has a prayer request actually. She just sent me a message.
Wonderful. Okay.
Mhm.
Can we hear us?
Can we hear from her?
Yes, she's here.
Hi, would you like to introduce yourself and perhaps show us your face? You are joining us from where?
She's from Tanzania.
Wonderful.
Can you hear us, Hermes? I think, yeah, she's here.
Good evening.
Hi, good evening. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm all the way from Tanzania.
That is wonderful.
Welcome.
I have a prayer request.
Okay.
My father is suffering from prostate cancer.
And you want him to get healed, of course.
Yes, he's very sick. He can't even walk.
Mm.
He's sick to even talk.
Is he in the
Thank
hospital or is he at home?
He's in the hospital.
Okay.
May you please help
Wonderful.
me?
Well, who would like to minister? Will you maybe Alexander, you would like to minister to him?
Yes, I will. What's the name of your father? Can I ask you?
Hermes.
Hello, Mit.
Hermes.
Hermes. Okay. I command that your father can walk again as never before, and the resurrection power of Jesus Christ lives in me and all of us. So the resurrection power of Jesus Christ is be able enough to heal your father totally in the mighty name of Christ. And I declare health over your father from now on and ever. And he will fulfill his dreams. He will fulfill his dreams. And I see in a picture that he gets back his focus on the dreams he lost. And God, the Father, loves to give it him back. He gives his dreams back on this moment. And I bless you too for asking this beautiful question. So I say also to your family, healing and provision shall be there in abundance. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
God bless you.
Thank you.
So regarding communication, anybody else has anything to add?
Yes, I have. This is in Dutch, but it's also in English. It's love and respect from Emerson Eggerichs,
Right.
and it's a very good book. And the bottom line is a woman in a marriage longing for love, and a man in a marriage longing for respect. These are the two bottom lines. There are more
Yes.
to say about it, but I have many people who recommend this book, and it was very helpful, and also in relation where the men know Jesus and his wife not, and they came here, and we have counseled them on our way from heaven, and that marriage is going much better now.
Wonderful.
And she doesn't know the Lord yet, but it will come. It will come because there's a target on her head, because we pray for her husband pray for her, so she will see it. And this is this is a gold book. I can recommend it, and it's in
What's the name?
Love and Respect. Love and Respect in
By
English.
yeah, by Emerson Eggerichs.
You must have read it.
I tip it here. Yeah. So it's very good to don't go in the trap of useless conversation, but in the good conversation. That's all what the book says about it, and how to find each other. And so yeah, it's very good. It handles and there's also, of course, outside our relation of our marriage is necessary to lift up people and always respect and love people. It's always my bottom line, to respect and love people, and from that I can speak to people, because we hear many stories, but I never condemn people. You don't know about a picture of you, about a man and a woman and a snake. You don't know where people came from. So,
Exactly.
and
You don't know what they are dealing with right now.
yes,
Not just the background, but right now.
yeah, and also Jesus with women and men who have not a very good life back then till they see Jesus. He doesn't say something about the wrong stuff. He lifts them up.
Yes,
and they
always.
say a word that they
Always.
can change their life and change their way of thinking and change their way of living, and then they grow up and they were helpful in the kingdom of God, so that's always what I have learned from the Apostle Charles. Always lift up people. Always lift up. Always. Yeah. So I
For
hope.
instance, since you guys are all leaders, and I'm sure there are many leaders out there, and depending on your culture, I suppose, but I have encountered different style of communication. But I would suggest something. If you want to correct someone as a leader, and I think it's very important, what is the basis of correction? The basis of correction from your part is that you would correct the person so the person can grow. But also the other basis is that you are in charge of them as a leader to some level, to some aspect. So it is really your job to correct them. But most people, of course, are not exactly open for correction. So how will you correct them? Anybody?
Yeah.
What is a correction style that worked for you? Then I will tell you the answer. I just want to hear from you.
Okay. Well, I would say if I believe someone was out of line or needed to be corrected in a way, but they're in a place of authority, I need to go to them with honor and respect first and foremost because of the position that they're in, and address them in such a way that would never put me in a place over them in my speech. That it would always be, I respect and honor your authority. I do believe maybe you're out of line in this and that. And maybe it's, and sometimes it may not be my place. I may have to follow protocol and say, look, you know, so let's say that there's a person in charge, like at my work as an example, there's an operations manager, there's my supervisor, and then there's the group of us. And I would need to go to the supervisor first and say, you know, I kind of believe that the operations manager might have been out of line, and I'm just bringing this to you. And I'm wondering what your thoughts are about it and how we should proceed and what your thoughts are, whether am I wrong kind of thing, and have a discussion about it. So yeah, so honor, respect, and of course, first and foremost, observing protocol. That's what I would say.
I was thinking about more in terms of when you are in charge of people, how do you correct them?
Oh, when we're in charge.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, that's completely opposite. Yeah.
So
Sometimes,
Friendship. I mean, even if it's a friendship, how do you correct them?
well, sometimes it's a little bit difficult. Sometimes, not always. First, I let people tell all the things about what they found and etc. And then I bring it back in a very simple form. And sometimes people say, you say that and that and that. And then I always say, well, I have listened carefully to you, but I didn't say that. This is the point I say. And you are free to handle this, what I say, what you want, because you are a free man or woman. You are free to handle, but this is what I see. So you can take it for your way, and if not, it's your decision. So that's one thing. In a group, I had a woman, and she was talking very wrong of one of our members who was just left our room. And I told her directly, then I don't let her speak out. I said, stop. I don't want gossip in my room. And I don't want also gossip about other churches or leaders, or I don't want to speak any way negative what organization it is, because it's not, well, it's not the way. It's
it doesn't promote love, obviously.
It does promote love, and it's a way it go not further. It's in English you say cool the sack. It's a way it stop. You can't go further and cool the sack. So that's it. And
well, I was okay. What I was thinking is it's almost like a technique, but it's very simple. It's called sandwich.
Oh, okay.
First, to tell them, I love this about you, that you love communicating.
Right.
And you're so enthusiastic and you're so passionate. You can use this method with everybody, basically. Well, not up, but down and peer.
Yeah.
And but this one thing I think you might want to change, because otherwise you're wonderful and you understand. So first, the person is wonderful, you want to change, but otherwise you understand. So that's sandwich. But when you hammer someone like, oh my goodness, you know, you did this, then they are not able to receive it. They are already.
No.
So yes, you can use the technique, but also I think the way you want to be corrected is pretty much the same, isn't it? That? So if you know how you will receive a correction, then you would probably point to the same method. You would want to be praised first, a little bit of correction, and then praised after, isn't it?
Yes, and if you know the atmosphere of our worldwide family, and there's a leader above you, and you see something, in my case, then I don't speak in public. Then I pray and I think about the whole thing. Is it worthwhile to ask some questions? But if it is so, and it's a leader above me, then I will ask in private questions, but not in public, because that's not the way how you do it, how you handle it. You know, that's very
yes, of course, every correction, as it goes without saying, every correction must be done in private.
Yeah.
You take the
Yeah.
person aside, you don't correct them in front of the people, because of
Mhm.
course that's automatically setting them up for closing, because they are getting defensive, or they are being defensive. They want to be embarrassed. But I'm just saying, like, in, you know, as a general guideline, you want to really do the sandwich thing because it works. And it's also, I mean, there must be something that you do appreciate about them. Let's say Frida is not cooking very well. You know, this dinner was not done well, for instance. I'm just saying something.
For example.
I love that you are cooking. I love that you are so enthusiastic. Maybe this was a little bit undercooked, but I'm sure tomorrow you will do it much better. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, and no. Yes.
Even in smaller things.
It's
The method is the same.
Yes, it's the way you're saying it. It's the way you make the music.
Mhm.
Yes.
It's the way you make the
Yeah,
music.
that's right.
Nicely.
We say it in Dutch.
The way you make the music. Okay.
Yes.
I'll say that to
So-
Annette. I'll say this. Yeah. That's
Go
good.
ahead.
I want to say something. Oh, she's left.
Absolutely.
No, but I think she's left now. So it's okay. She'll come back. Oh,
And
she's
look
here.
at that. Can we see your face? Would that be all right? Yeah, she needs to unmute herself.
There we go.
Getting there. Hello, Yvette. How are you doing?
Oui, hello. Moi, I don't understand English.
Oh, okay.
I
That's
know
very
French.
interesting. Okay. What language do you speak? We speak Dutch here, Hungarian,
French.
and
French.
Chinese. There you go.
French.
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 Anybody?
Uh,
Anybody here?
I ask Frida.
Frida
One
speaks.
moment, please.
So what can we do for you in the meantime?
Moi, je ne comprends que le français.
Okay.
Mm.
This started like a Hungarian group, and now we are everything but Hungarians, and now we have the. I thoroughly enjoy it, but I'm just, you know, if you think about it, it's really funny.
Oh, I'm so sorry. She's going to her bed because she was very tired.
Oh, okay,
She's
sure.
Je suis en République démocratique du Congo,
oui.
à Bukavu. À Bukavu.
Oh, Bukavu. You guys were there in Bukavu.
À Bukavu, à
I
l'église.
have been there.
Son there was in Bukavu.
À l'église Yesu Niji Bunguba.
Okay. This is the church where she's from.
Yeah.
Yesu Niji Bunguba.
Okay.
À l'église 5e ciel pas Yesu Niji Bunguba. À Bukavu. Et la fois dernière, les jours que le pasteur Chris était ici, à Bukavu, et Alexandre, ils avaient prié pour moi à l'hôtel au Beaulieu. Je les avais rencontrés à l'hôtel au Beaulieu et ils avaient prié pour moi.
Something about hotel.
Yeah, I think she said that she met Alexander at the same hotel, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. We need to know what you want and how we can help you, Yvette.
Ils avaient prié pour moi.
Unaongea Kiswahili?
Ndio, mimi naongea Kiswahili.
Sasa unataka wakusaidie kwa njia gani?
Mimi nasema hivi, wakati yenye pasteur alikuwa huku Bukavu, pasteur Charles Difon, nilimkutanaka ku hotel au Beaulieu, bakaniombea pamoja na Alexandre na mke wake.
Friede. Yeah.
Okay, so she's saying that when the apostle was in Burundi, I think that her country prayed for her and her daughter and her child.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Alote Loboli.
Kwa Kiswahili tena siongei Kifaransa.
Okay. Sasa njo nilikuwa napenda niwaambie kama tangu ile wakati waliniombea nimekwisha kupokea uponyaji. Mimi natafutaka kontakte zao nilishaka zikosa. Sasa na mimi siongee sana anglais, mimi naongea zaidi sana na mie Francais na Kiswahili.
Francais. Sasa mtoto umepona?
Ndiyo, nimepona.
Okay, so she wanted to say that she received her healings and wanted to come back and say that she's healed and her child is also healed. And she's been trying to figure out who to tell, and she's not been able to find anybody else.
What was her condition and her daughter's condition? What was she healed of?
Ulikuwa ameombewa kwa njia gani? Alikuwa na nini?
Mimi?
Mtoto na wewe. Apostle alikuombea nini?
Ile wakati apotre aliniombeaka nilikuwa na probleme ya moyo, lakini nimekwisha kupokea uponyaji.
Okay, asante. She had a heart problem, I think, that had been going on for a while, but she's now fine.
Praise God.
Hallelujah.
Praise God.
Can you ask her, Christine, if she was in the Sunday service where Jesus come in our midst?
Jesus,
if she wants to come to our midst.
No, if she was.
If she was
in that Jesus
end of November. End of November we were in Bukavu and Jesus come in our midst in the whole service.
Yesu alikuja huko kwenu, anakuuliza vile walikuja huko kuwaombea, ulipata Yesu?
Mimi niko Mkristo, mimi niko bibi hata mke wa pasta. Na mimi ni mwimbaji, natumikia Mungu tangu utoto wangu.
She says she's received Christ and she's a pastor's wife and she's been saved since she was a child and received Christ.
Yeah, I don't think she understood. It's fine.
No. Probably I did not understand the question myself.
In one of the services, Jesus appeared, and the question was whether she was on that particular service.
Yet wanakuuliza kuna service walikuja Yesu akatokezea. Ulikuwa kwa hiyo service ama ulikuwa kwa gani?
Sisikie vizuri.
Yesu kuna wakati walikuja kuomba huko kwenu, alafu Yesu akafika hapo, watu wakamuona. Wewe ulikuwa hapo ama ulikuwa kwa service nyingine?
Nilikuwa nafuata mkutano yote. Nilikuwa naingia mikutano yao yote yenye walifanyaka.
She says that she was present at all of them, all the meetings where you were. Where Jesus was.
Wow. Why I say this question, because when she was there, her life will never be the same. That's why I have this question. When Jesus come in our midst, we never can be the same. So that's what I will want to share with her. And I see also another person, and he comes from Burundi.
Kwa hivyo anakuambia maisha yako, ikiwa ulifika pale kama Yesu amekuja, maisha yako haitakuwa same kabisa, lazima itageuka kwa sababu ulimuona Yesu. Maisha yako itageuka kwa uzuri kabisa.
Amen.
All right, praise God. Let's get back to communication and its importance.
Hallelujah.
That was a lot of fun, though.
Yeah, it was.
Thank you, Christine.
All these hidden talents with all these languages, it's wonderful, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm from East Africa. I'm from East Africa myself, so I understand. Swahili.
Okay. Thank you so much for translating.
Christine saved the day.
Thank you.
Princess Reka, we have a Reverend as well.
Okay.
I think he wants to just unmute yourself, a Reverend, please.
Reverend. Okay. You need to unmute yourself, sir. Unmute yourself. I can't hear you.
Okay. I don't understand you.
Oh, okay. What language do you speak?
French.
French.
I'm from Burundi. I'm from Burundi.
Yes,
I'm
I
from
know. He was with the apostle.
Praise God. Okay.
To
We work together.
Bukavu and to Goma. He was traveling with us.
Wonderful.
Good to see you.
And he disappears.
Yeah,
Well,
the internet
I
was
just want
not very good.
Go ahead, Christina.
No, I was just going to mention that I saw Apostle for the first time 2 days ago on Sid Roth. And so, yeah, so that when he first came to the United States on that interview that he had with him, I think in '96. Yeah, so that's when I saw him and I looked him up, and the whole of yesterday I was just following all of his teachings and the miracles he's done.
Well, welcome.
So,
Yeah, we were
and I've just been going through stuff, and
we have
I've
an extended family, and we thought that you're from one of our branches, but that's even better. That's even better. Praise God. Good. Okay. We have a lot of programs coming up that you can participate even in person and also online. And it's a one big happy family. And when we cannot all gather together in the same time, especially with this, with this virus hysteria, then we are definitely participating in a lot of meetings online from around the world. So you will really feel at home because everybody's from another place, of course, but we are all one big happy family. And many times we even travel together. So please join us.
Thank
on
you very
every
much.
of our upcoming meetings. Most of them are live streamed anyway, so you are able to join us.
Thank you.
Then you can listen to Apostle face to face, and it's just a different flow. But right now he's done in Kenya, and then he's going to move. He's
in Kenya right now.
Right now in Kenya, yes. One of our associates is running for president, and he's a strategic advisor there. And
because I can tell my sister to take my mother and my family there to be prayed for.
He's not holding an open meeting right now.
Okay.
But, he's helping with the election campaign, being strategically advising the person who's running for presidency. And then he's going to go to Zimbabwe, sorry, in a couple of days. And he's going to do some more meetings there, but mostly strategically business and political meetings at this time. And probably minister to people. Of course, he will minister to people, but they are not exactly open right now. So there's a lot of things that are going on, and but you can always participate in online if no other way. Then you can always find us. Follow our internet pages, our Facebook pages, and we have our daily boost. Apostle is teaching daily, not now because he's traveling, but we have Pastor Marjorie who's teaching, and other people, taking on for Apostle right now. But normally Apostle would teach from Monday to Friday every day about an hour, or and you can interact with him. So that's also a good thing to follow. And we are on every Tuesday. I'm from Hungary right now. I live in Hungary, and this is basically meant to be a Hungarian group, but then Hungarians came and they left. Fine. So now everybody is joined, but everybody is welcome, and there's no restriction, obviously. But
thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are every Tuesday. We are on every Tuesday at I think 2 o'clock your time. Are you on Eastern Standard Time?
Eastern, yes.
Yeah, then it's 2 o'clock your time. It's evening our time, because we are 6 hours ahead of you, but it will be 2 o'clock your time every Tuesday. So if you want to join us, that's fine too. And but follow Apostle definitely. And we always have something on, and it's always live streamed, so you can always join in wherever you are. But of course, best in person.
Yes, thank you. And so somebody can ask for prayer requests in all these meetings that you are in?
Sure. Yeah,
yes.
Everybody can teach, really, basically, because I ask everybody to teach. So whoever has something on their hearts, they can just let me know, and then this way you can just express whatever you feel God has put on your heart and share. But
Yes, Princess Reka is a wonderful host.
Thank you.
Here.
I'm the hostess.
Yes, yes.
So regarding communication and why is it important? Anybody has anything to add?
Yeah.
Anna, we haven't heard from you much.
Myself.
Yes.
Me? Oh, sorry, I was online trying to get.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. What can I say? Communication. I would say it's very, very vital, very, very important. Because I remember this person that one of like a close associate, and I remember there wasn't any. It was just very silent. So when someone is really silent, that means it is not really good, you know. And in order to have a healthy communication, a healthy relationship, you have to communicate both ways. Yeah. So yeah. And what else? I mean, you all have really spoken all the good points. So yeah.
Praise God. Christina, do you have anything to add regarding? I don't know if you heard. Were you present when the teaching was on? Or did you join us later?
I think I joined you after 20 minutes. After I caught you teaching and talking on communication for a little bit. And I was listening off and then I decided to come in. Yes.
Okay, lovely. So anyway, anything you want to share regarding the subject, and let us know.
Well, yeah, I would say that with communication sometimes, you know, like somebody said, I think it was Mark, about someone wants to tell their story. And I know that sometimes people just want to be heard. And when someone is telling their story, the other person wants to run in and help. And then in that process, sometimes you cut off their story in the moment of trying to rescue them, and then they don't get to tell that full story. And so that communication, they are stifled with it in their head. They didn't have a forum, they were not validated. So sometimes I've learned into just being able to hear, like someone said, sometimes I don't want you to help me, just listen to me. And so how do I check myself so that I'm sensitive to the fact that I'm not bringing my own story and taking over and telling them and not hearing them? Like when I start saying that, oh, this happened to me, oh, this happened to me too, you know, and then who
Don't just love those.
Yes, so being, so running away with someone else's pain, sometimes we want to hear them and developing that and being on their side first. And before I'm able to tell them to be able to come to my side. If I'm not there with them on their side and feel their pain, then there is no way that I can bring them to the side where they can hear me too. So sometimes that, the communication.
I think it's an excellent point. We need to be able to listen. We need to be quick to listen, quicker than to talk.
Yeah.
Because I think one of the things is missing well, I don't even know if I can pinpoint since where the last 15, 20 years, maybe 15 years for the most part, and 10 years especially, people just like to talk, and they listen less and less and less and less. And that's not good. It's very rare that you find someone who can listen. And I think listening is an art. Speaking also, talking also in the right way. But also, as you pointed out, Christina, very well, that of course, listening is also an art. And it's also, it has a richness in it. You can tell that the person is really hearing you, even though without saying a word, or they just there and they just, you know, completely in somewhere else. You can tell whether the person is present and actually listens to you. And I think most people do not know how to listen. And just like you said, Christina, they would cut in, they would try to upstage you. They would say, you know what, my problem is greater, my pain is greater, I've been through that, you have no idea, you know, your problem is not that important. And basically you're communicating that the person is not important. So again, we are touching on communication and how important it is to listen and hear the person out. Because again, we also touched on that some people just want to be heard. They don't want to be talked at or given advice to. If they ask for it, then of course you have the chance to. But if you just give advice, is the person will feel that you are talking down at them, or you're just talking at them as opposed to listening to what they have to say. So yeah, it's very, very important. I'm glad you mentioned it.
Yeah. And to add on to that, I just wanted to say
Yeah.
recently I heard, and I've really adopted this because I thought it was so perfect, and it goes right along with what Christina just said. Everyone wants to be heard because everyone wants to be recognized that they have value and that they are valuable. And if nobody wants to listen, how do they know that they have value? They
It's
want
true.
to be recognized for value.
Yes.
So, and by listening, it, how often, I don't know, in your experience, any of you, but how, you know, you listen to someone and they suddenly stop and look and say, you're such a good listener. I've never really had somebody in quite some time or whatever listen, and that says something. And it's very much to what you were saying there, Princess Rika, how it is an art. I really believe that.
It is an art, because I always, I obviously we know that because we are all on, you know, that level that we understand that everything we do is spiritual, really, because we are spiritual beings first and foremost. We have a body, you know, but we are spirits, and whatever you do, whether with words or without words, you create an atmosphere.
Yeah.
So you can create an atmosphere of rich silence or an empty silence, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and you can tell, or the other person can tell, whether you are really present in your silence, listening to them, actually actively listening to them, or you're just there in physical, you know, in your physical state, but you are not really there.
Yeah. You're
So
thinking
yeah,
about something else, or you're thinking about the next thing you can say to interject
Yeah.
and add on, and,
Yeah.
and not, but not really listening.
That's the problem.
and hearing. Yeah.
That's my problem sometimes.
even children can tell.
Yes.
Even children can tell. I remember
yes.
when my brother was very little. He could barely speak, but he would be very passionate about the way he expressed himself. So even though his words were not always recognizable, you would have to actually pay attention to him in order to understand what he was saying, because the words were kind of muffled, and you know how children talk. And you know, you would sit him on your lap. I remember this very vividly. You would now, of course, he's grown, but you would sit him on your lap and just listen to him how passionately he was telling. I don't even know what he was telling, but he realized that your eyes are glossy, and then he would grab your face. He goes,
Yeah.
listen, because you know you didn't have to say a word, but he could tell that you are not there. You know, your eyes are glossy. You're looking at him, but you are not really seeing him because you're somewhere else. And immediately he was like, you know, listen. He would grab your face, turn your face, listen.
Listen, yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah, children can tell too when you're just not
yeah.
there.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Anybody else?
We have Faru is here. We have him.
Yes, please. Let us know what you think, of course.
I think a lot of things.
I know, but you don't say anything. You have the art of listening.
Most of the time I'm listening, and that's what people say about me, that I'm a good listener, but always listening with the intention to really listen and to help people with the right answer. And I learned communication after I went to high school. I lost a lot of my communication because of fear. But after I met Jesus in my youth years, he restored the communication.
Amen.
And I got the courage to communicate with some, not with every man or women, but most of the time with who knows, maybe the king or the president. I want to communicate with them,
There you go.
but always in love.
Exactly.
Always in love. Always with the intention to say the right words, but also to listen and to understand, because maybe they have problems themselves, but like the picture you showed on Facebook, that was a very helpful picture. So many times that's a situation for people, or so maybe sometimes for myself, or in my marriage, or with my children. We not always know what we are going through, or other people going through. So it's very good to always also have a distance, not I don't know to say it how, not to want to say too speedy, too soon. Give an answer, or make a decision, or think you know exactly what's wrong, because you need time in communication, and that's also what I learned today. And I like to say that this evening was the first time my phone automatically started at 8 o'clock. Phone was in my jacket, and at once I heard Princess Reka. So I was still on my way home, and so I couldn't start coming on the Zoom. But someone asked me to activate my Zoom account, so I'm here, and it was really wonderful again to be with you all.
Absolutely, we missed you.
I love it.
Yeah.
I was very busy in my work because I stopped my the last months were the last months I worked in the before my pension. So I couldn't. There was no time to be on Tuesdays on the Zoom meetings, but afterwards I listened to them in my car. So I was still with you all.
That's
Thank
good.
you very much. Yes.
Thank you. Hopefully we can join us regularly.
Yeah.
Yes, and
for sure.
Oh yes, and I invited Koos for Hamburg for the Power School of Miracles.
Wonderful.
And I have invited 6 or 7 people in the Netherlands to go there. So I am curious who's coming there. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay.
Anybody else? Anything about communication?
I just want to say I haven't thought about communication that much before today. I really learned quite a bit. Thank you.
Communication is a way of life.
Yeah,
Yep.
expanded my understanding. And we all know communication is important, but the points you're giving is, let me think a little bit more than what I think I know. That was very, yeah, I learned. Today's communication, I learned.
That's good. One more thing about that picture that we looked at. And of course, we from the outside see a very different perspective. But those two people, they only see things from their own perspective. And what would have helped them if they would have communicated with each other, isn't it?
Right.
Each of them had some expectations, very, valuable expectations from the other one, except for the obstacles they were not aware of. on each other's lives. But if they would have communicated with each other, then the tension between them would have been solved, because she would have been able to tell him, you know, there's a snake here that you don't see, so I cannot move any further. And then he would be able to tell him the same way, you know what, I have some problems too, so I'm pulling you as hard as I can, but you know, we need to come up with another solution, because right now we are stuck, each of us. So communication is really something that can move things along. And of course, to the contrary, if there's no communication, things are stagnant. There's no growth, there's no hope for change, and there's no life without communication. So imagine if Jesus would have said, you know what, I love you, I died for you, that should be enough for you, you know, because I gave you the best I could, you know, my life. When you die, you go to heaven, but you know, I don't need to communicate with you anymore. You wouldn't have any relationship with him, right? So just because you know, or you have a child, or you have children, I done my part, I bore you, you know, you are on this earth, I even cook for you, I take care of you, but we don't talk. There's no communication there, you know.
Yeah.
And your perspective as a mother, obviously, you know, this is a hypothetical, never going to happen, probably, hopefully, but she might think, you know, I did my part, I did my best, I'm done, I don't have to worry about the child anymore, she's here or he's here on this earth. From now on, you know, he can just find his own way. But that child needs you to train them in the way they should go. They need to be expressed that they are, you know, you need to pay attention to them. They need to understand that you love them. You need to tell them that you love them. You know, you should know that I love you because I cook for you and I take care of you, you know, and I clothe you and, you know, I pay for your education and things like that. You should know that I love you. I expressed it, but you need to express it another way. You need to hug that child. You need to listen to that child. You need to pay attention to that child. You need to verbally express that you love and appreciate the child, and you're happy that they're here and they are part of your family, and just ask what they think about this, and you know, just listen to them. That these are all forms of communication. These are all forms of expressing your love for them. So I think the same goes for a spouse, same goes for your peers, other family members, you know, but each of them, each of us do have our own understanding of what communication is, our own needs to communication. Maybe for a man is not so much verbal, maybe it's something else. Maybe for a woman it's something else, you know, something yet again. So you have to find out what is the key to that particular person. And of course, God can help you, but you can also ask, you know, you can ask, what would you like to do? I feel like we are not communicating anymore. Okay, so what would you like to do? And then you guys can decide. But obviously it has to start with communicating, asking the right questions at the right time, and just take time to understand the other person. Like in this situation with the snake and the stone. What is what I can do at this time to help you move forward? What is what I can, you know, maybe I'm doing too much. Maybe you need to be given some more responsibilities. What would express my love and care and attention for you in the way that you would understand it? And maybe the language of love 2 years ago was different for the person. Now it's something else. So that's what I'm saying. You have to grow together, whether it's a friendship, any kind of relationship, you have to understand the person right where they are at. But you will not do it unless you communicate.
Yeah, and also in communication, I remember it has nothing always to do with yourself as person. You are in communication, so there's a greater thing that we have to do together. So it's not only me or you, but together we have to fulfill a goal. We have to bring heaven on earth, you know. So all the things have to be a building stone, a stepstone for have that kingdom from God here on earth. This in our communication, in counseling settings or in other communications situations, always to build the kingdom and to build each other.
Yeah, yes.
Is it helpful?
Very.
I also I also want to add a few points, actually 1 point. I put quite many Bible verses regarding communication, how to use our word. For example, Proverbs 12:18, right, said there's one whose rash words are like sword thrusts, but the tongue of the wise brings healing. And then we talked about slow to talk, quick to listen. Many wisdom. Because we all grew, we're communication animals. Like we grew up, we ask for food, our parents have way communicate us, whether they spank us to, comply to them, whatever. We always communicate. But there's a better way to communicate. As I grow older, especially come to, to be saved by Jesus, come to know Jesus, come to know the wisdom of God. I'm more conscious about communication. Like, for example, you talked about how do you speak to people that you, in leadership, I don't want to say leadership, but people like, you do have people that they answer to you, right? Younger people. Because in the traditional communication, you say, you didn't do this, you're late, you're right? But now you learn from God's word. You speak word to lift them up, to build them up, to heal because whatever things they're not doing perfectly, like being late, not accomplish the work, or being disorganized, there's a bigger context behind it. But your word, or even just in part of the wisdom that you as an older person could help them to grow, right?
Absolutely.
Heal their problem. For example, I realized that when I communicate, because I'm as a, the company owner, or, they get really overreacting what I say. I realize is that look, we're a family. We're never gonna give up on you. I'm only speaking things that I know I would done the same when I was at your age. You build them up, but you've been working so hard. Thank you for working so hard. And sometimes I think younger people is concerned because their peers might be achieving more than they do. They think they are not smart enough. I always encourage you, you're very, very smart. You just have to have the experience. So you build them up. But that wisdom comes from God, because in the past it's like, okay, he's not working out, let's fire them. You don't give up on them. And I learned that from my husband a little bit better because he's more patient. But when you come to Christ, the wisdom is bigger, right? Like, because there's a principle you can follow actually works. And I recognize, like, for example, one of our young person is reacting to my word a little better now because it's calmer, because I said that you're very smart. Thank you for working so hard. Thank you for working hard with everyone. He's receiving it, but he feel like he's, because his skills might not be the best among the group, but he's having more confidence now, and he's offering help, which I just think, yeah. But you learn that from God's word, and then constantly keep that behind, in the back of your mind, and you remind yourself, right? Like, not to resort to the habit that you have, but always put God's wisdom first.
Absolutely.
Thanks to God's wisdom, yeah.
Anybody else has anything to add?
Christine has a prayer request.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So I just want to be able to communicate. I'm really happy that I came here and you're talking about communicating, and particularly with marriages and all of that. And I just want to ask for a prayer request because my marriage has actually gone underground. Last month, my husband decided that he no longer wants to be married and filed. And but I am a believer in God. For the last 2 years, I've been praying, and I believe that God has given me an answer. 2 days ago, when I found this, I said, I've been praying to God and I've been wondering why there is no opening, but I think that God has answered my prayer. So I just want to come here because
is he also a believer?
He was a believer before we got married in church, but a few months ago, he told me that he's no longer believing in Jesus. So that's part that I was praying on too. And, it's just been confusing which end to pray for the reunion and all that. And I know that, he believed in Jesus, but I don't know what has happened. And so he wants to be done, but I know that I follow the legal aspect as in the Bible and pray by what is written in the Bible and just going by that. Yeah.
So basically, we will command restoration, complete restoration to your marriage.
Yeah.
And salvation.
Complete restoration and healing for your marriage. And we pray that God touches your husband right now, right where he's at, and send your Holy Spirit to touch him and your angels to minister to him, so that he would return to Christina and return a different person. Return to you first and return to Christina second.
Yes.
In the name of Jesus, we command this and we expect good results. We expect great testimonies very, very soon. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
Yeah, and just don't worry. Don't stress out about it. Don't worry.
No. And can I say something?
Yes, do.
Christina, the whole time it came in my mind, when people came in church, they have to block their mind, their intelligence, etc., etc. And I was thinking that's what's happening with your husband in church. He is very clever, very intellectual person, and he can't do something with his intellect in church. So that stopped him to believe in God. It's not right to do that, but it was that broke his focus to walk with the Lord. So that's what I saw in my what I saw in spirit. So we can repair all the things he have what people have done to him. They have treated him not very well as a very valuable person. You did, but not people around him, and we will restore it, and that he will see with the eyes that the Lord is merciful and you are a loving, full woman for him. So we will restore that in the name of Christ, in the name of Jesus on that moment, and it will be happen. It will be happen.
Amen. Absolutely.
Thank you, Jesus.
And make sure you fellowship with people like us.
You're welcome here.
And we're here for you. So we are always going to be here for you. So join our family, not just this little group, but our extended Christ Love Ministries family, and that you will never be the same again. And
I told you that I received my answer. So when I found this, you told me that many groups. So yes, I'm going to be finding.
One of the things I think also helps, but in every problem it helps, is focus. You shift your focus from your problems, like in this case, the marital problems, and you discover that you have way more than that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So when you go out of your way to help others, like we do, we are not looking at our own situation. If we had any problems. So don't be in that whole state of mind of stressing and the mind games and what's going on. Just leave it to the Lord. You know it's already done, and we have already spoken, and it's going to happen. But in the meantime, just do something that you can give to others. And that should be your focus, not your husband and your marriage and things like that, because that can really eat you up.
Yeah, it can eat me. Yeah, it eats you up, especially we move to a new town and a new city. And yeah, so it's just going back to my friend and joining groups and praying together has been helpful. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can, I mean, there's a lot of need right now in the United States, so you can just help people.
Yes.
Help
Yeah.
people and bring them to Jesus, and you know,
Amen.
a lot of things to do there right now.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and you will be you will be uplifted. You will be, you know, as you help others with the same help you were helped, you can help others, and with the same comfort you were comforted, you will comfort others. The bottom line is, don't focus on those things that you're not supposed to be focusing on. Just leave it to the Lord. It's done. We spoke the word. Now you turn your attention and your time and your energy and your resources to helping others, whether it's in your local church or in your group or maybe a different mission around you, and just go out to where people are and just help them. This will help you take your mind off.
You know, sometimes crisis is opportunity in our lives. I think your husband is moving to a different season. He's obtaining a higher understanding of God's love, Jesus' love. So he has to get away from that environment. So it's just, this is temporary. He will be restored back to you, but to a better understanding, higher revelation of Christ, and your relationship will be strengthened through this. So God will restore it. It's already done.
Amen.
Amen. Wonderful. So do we have a wonderful announcement, Anna?
Yes. Can I just share a testimony for Christy?
Absolutely, please do.
Yeah, I've got two of my friends, Christy, who had the same, the husbands wanted to divorce them, and they both were Christians. And this is what they did, they believed, and God actually brought the husbands back to them. And now they have like one has got extra 2 child, another one had another kid after that. So it's possible. Since we've prayed here, it's done.
Yeah.
So
Wonderful.
yeah. So I just want to share that with you.
That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome. Shall I do the announcement?
Yes, please do.
No prayer requests online as well. So yeah, that's okay. For coming up next month, the School of the Spirit dates have been changed, everyone. So it's on the 2nd of June to the 4th of June.
Okay.
Yes, 2nd to the 4th of June. This are the change dates. So please inform your friends, families. And we will be having online worship sessions as well. And please go to psom.org to register online. And the theme will be the School of Christ. July, we have the Power School of Miracles, and the theme is called Secret Place. Please do not miss this amazing 1 week of marination. If you can make it all the way to Rhode Island, please do, because it's a good way to actually meet Apostle Charles in person. We will be having an online version as well. So please do register. And thank you so much for your tithes and offering. It's always been a blessing for the ministry, and it's never ending. The needs are always there. So we'll say thank you very much. You can actually go to christlove.org and click on the donate button. And we have the PayPal option as well. So you have to paypal.me/Charles Cash App, $Charles Enderphone. Venmo at Dr. Charles Enderphone. Zelle options, we have the Christ Love 401-999-4466 and Western Union and the name of Charles Enderphone. Do send us the code that it will retrieve the money from there. Mail or check order, Christ Love Media, PO Box 72800, Providence, Rhode Island 02907. Thank you. And back to you, Princess Reka.
Thank you very much. So we're ready.
You're welcome.
Let me hear our beautiful music. Do we have the beautiful music? So this has been another edition of Kingdom Embassy Budapest, where we are changing nations. Okay, I don't know what that was, but that's not what we wanted. Anyway,
Yvette has said,
wrong file.
Okay, Yvette just sending a message. She doesn't want her face to go to Facebook.
Who said that?
Yvette.
Yes, yes, I understand.
Not a problem, not a problem, not a problem. Okay, so this has been another edition of Kingdom Embassy Budapest. Thank you for joining us. See you next week. God bless you. Have a great week. God bless you. Bye-bye. Love you all.